Welcome back to Jingy Thatch Grove. I am so happy you found your way back here. Today we are doing a tarot reading that is being recorded the day of Beltane. I don't necessarily observe the sort of like Wiccan or pagan Sabbaths really, but I do sort of like the idea of them as being markers of certain points in time in the year and sort of energy or even just concepts of those times. Beltane is, I've always been sort of drawn to Beltane. It's very to be very joyful in a way. It's very bonfires and maypoles and sort of like starting on ideas, and I believe it has a lot to do with fertility generally. Literal fertility, but also more of a metaphorical fertility. And it is in between what is the word? I'm going to say winter equinox, solstice, that's the word. Winter solstice and summer solstice, I believe. I could be wrong about that, actually. Again, I'm not an expert in the Sabbath, as it were. But I thought it would be still fun to come in here today and do a tarot reading for it. I have previous videos actually of a few of these Sabbaths. I have one for Letha, one for Samhain, and one for Imbolc. So we have to, of course, do spring. I believe Beltane is sort of considered the inverse of Samhain. There's some loud cars today. It was just a little bit rainy earlier, and that always makes it louder on the road. Anyway. So, as I said, I have sort of those other seasonal readings for them, largely using a very simple 4-card spread of mine that I believe I have previously called the Shadow Revelation spread, though I don't really like that name anymore. I might change that. But it's very, very simple. You pull 4 cards. Card number 1 is that which you most fear. Card number 2 is that which you most desire. There's a bridge card, which is the place where they're sort of the same. Like on their Venn diagram, where do they overlap? Where are they the same for you? And then the 4th is the key card, or the way through, meaning the energy to tap into as you move forward with that knowledge. It's just meant to be a bit of very straightforward introspection. I've decided that since it is for Beltane, which is very spring, I'm going to use actually a combination of these 2 decks, the Imbolc and Letha, which is very winter and summer. So I'm going to go ahead and actually shuffle them together, which is not something that I typically do. I don't usually shuffle together these decks. That since it's sort of right between both of these, I might as well try something a little bit different today. There we go. I already have lit here my little cauldron candle. That was loud, sorry. I should have lit that after recording, but I already didn't. It's hard to find a way to gracefully shuffle cards when you have acrylic press sounds. I hate that. Flip that over. There we go. Alright. There we go. It's a big chunk of cards here. We're getting them a little bit more together. As I'm shuffling, just take a few centering breaths. Focus on sort of elongating the spine a bit. Even if you're lying down, to kind of assume a little bit more of a dignified posture. And breathing deep into the belly and thinking about that idea of sort of planting seeds of starting something new. What are the projects you want to? I swear I shuffled this more and made them more segregated of now. Alright, I think that's as good as we're gonna get it for now. We split that blue chunk up at least. Is that a little bit better? There, that's better. I'm going to split you up into a couple of groups here. Group number 1, your word is chanterelle. Chanterelle. Group number 2, your word is songbird. Pick your word or your group, just whatever instinctively calls out to you. And we will go ahead and get started. So, group number 1, your word is chanterelle. And we'll get right into it. First card is that which you most fear. You have heirloom tomatoes. Enter into the depths of intimacy, where the seeds of your desires will be nourished. I'm immediately seeing the idea of a fear of being seen and of being known, maybe fear of being judged. There's maybe some isolation happening, some withdrawal. And as such, a certain amount of dishonesty. I will keep pulling your cards and I'll read their descriptions once they're all pulled. The second card is that which you most desire, and you have sunstone. In the uniqueness of who you are lives a world yet to be discovered. So there is a fear of being seen, but a deep-seated desire for a sense of authenticity. And I bet that there's also a desire for not just authenticity, but in being seen authentically as well. And if that sounds like your fear and desire are sort of the same, that's because they probably are. I think a lot of people are afraid of the things that they want. And it's so easy to hold yourself back from it and sort of self-sabotage. Because it can be scary to get what you want, I think, when it's so easy to I was gonna say fuck it up, and I guess that's true. It's so easy to fuck it up once you get it. And I think maybe there's a sense that there's no going back. Once you've been seen, once you've allowed yourself to be known at that level, then you can't, there's not a second chance at a first impression, and there's no retreating back into hiding from people who've already seen you. And that can be a really scary feeling for people, I think. I think this is probably maybe the most likely, or most picked group, I wonder, of the three, because I think this is so far reading to me is very, very common. Though the degree to which it is felt for some of you might not be within what you understand to be normal range. Do you know what I mean? Where sometimes there are fears or even thought patterns that are very common, but for some people they feel them to a degree that is not standard. And I think maybe that's what's happening here. For now, let's move on. The bridge card. Where are these the same? This isn't going to be an interesting one, I think, because to me they're already the reading is very similar so far. But where for you are they feeling the same? You have weather divination. I trust in what I feel. For what I feel are signs to pay mind to. As I suspected, kind of a weird one to bridge what is already quite similar. But the way that it's feeling the same for you here, there's something about intuition to this, I think. I'm going to wait to think too much about this until I've read its description properly. And your final card, the key or the way through, the energy to tap into to help you move through the issues brought up here. You have arts and crafts. Nothing exists without the essence of spirit. May it be whispers or chants. Your energy is what brings life to all that you create. All art is an act of self-expression, and as such, is an act of communication. And so I think that there's something to be said for the idea that the act of creation is a very helpful tool for expanding your communication with others, because it allows you to just focus inward and achieve a flow state and act on impulse in a way that maybe just direct socialization does not. However, it does hone your ability and skill to let yourself be seen, because, again, all creation is an act of communication. So I think the advice here is maybe to focus on just following joy in making something that can be shared and shown. Now, let's look at the booklets. Heirloom tomatoes, 16. For that which you most fear. Keywords are love, passion, and lust. Heirloom tomatoes bring the promise of new romance for love seekers and renewed passions in existing relationships. It goes beyond anything physical, entering into the depths of intimacy that is only accomplished by a deeper understanding of each other. Lust is born out of suggestive glances, feathery touches, and whisper kisses teasing at something much more sensual. If this is not something you're experiencing, consider seeking fresh ways to introduce more play into a relationship, romantic or otherwise. It's just as important to experience love for yourself as it is for a lover. Are you making time for your passions? When was the last time you acted on your lust for anything, not just a person, but also a goal, purchase, food, or location? This card guides you to give in to the need to spoil yourself and those around you. Everyone wants to be wanted and to feel loved, including the universe. The extra affection goes a long way in stocking the seeds of desire, and you will find that the energy you give is also the energy you receive. It emphasizes romance in a way I wasn't quite anticipating. That might not be the case for everyone in this group. I imagine there's probably a split there, but I think for a lot of you, maybe there is a sense of that fear of, that hesitation to allowing a romantic endeavor, or if you're already in a romance, maybe there's still a kind of hesitation, or I think I used the word withdrawal earlier, a withdrawal in that, a not quite like giving into it completely, that hesitation, that maybe trying to beat them to noticing your insecurities, right? Trying to assume that they're going to agree with everything you've ever disliked about yourself, and wanting to beat them to the punch in that way. And you really do get in your own way. When you do that, you really do cut off your own opportunities when you do that. Let's go to Sunstone 40. This is that which you most desire. Opportunities, unexpected luck, and fame. The word fame there stands out to me immediately, but first I'll read this. Sunstone is a stone of success that shows you talents that are unique to you, draws good luck, and increases your opportunities. Additionally, it stimulates leadership qualities, unlocking your ability to dance to the beat of your own drum. The lesson here is that when you are true to yourself, success, fame, and wealth naturally follow. Your greatest asset is that no one else on the planet is like you. You can do the same things as someone else, in the exact same way, and still the outcomes will be different because the people are different. Likewise, you can be the most talented person in the room, but someone who's willing to look silly, if it means standing out, is more likely to be noticed, despite being less talented, educated, or capable. Successful people stand out from the crowd, and the best way of doing that is letting your weirdness out to play. You are likely receiving this card because you are seeking recognition in some way, such as putting yourself up for promotion, looking for ways to increase customers, or you're ready to start dating. Don't get lost in the stream of familiarity by doing what everyone else is doing. Pay close attention to those little details that set you apart and put them on display. Others will find these quirks to be endearing, intriguing, useful, or downright entertaining. It doesn't really matter as long as it leads you to the right opportunities. The part of this that stands out the most to me is that idea that you can be the most talented person in the room, but someone who's willing to look silly, if it means standing out, is more likely to be noticed, despite being less talented, educated, or capable. So it really emphasizes that idea of like putting yourself out there, right? Which, based on your fear card, seems to be the main blockage. This is the card that is intriguing me the most here, the bridge card. Let's see, 42, weather divination. It's supposed to be where these are the same for you. You focus, paying attention, interpreting signs, and trusting what you feel. Divination rarely, if ever, delivers clear-cut signs, so it's up to you to learn how to piece things together to tell the most accurate story. This is something to be learned over time, of course, but it's also an innate gift you must possess, so you have the confidence to know what's right or wrong. This card suggests the need to watch your situation closely, knowing others are watching you just as intently. You are likely experiencing many moving parts that require a great deal of focus and attention. Many things may fall through the cracks in the coming weeks if you aren't careful. You may need to give a little extra effort for a time until things settle down, but just as with divination, you need some room to release perfectionism. Do the best that you can while understanding that mistakes are unavoidable. Others will respect your efforts as long as you are honest and willing to acknowledge you may not have all the answers. If you're worried about how your situation will play out, drawing this card means there aren't clear answers just yet. Trust that if something feels off, then it probably is. That's a weird one to be the bridge card here. This card suggests the need to watch your situation closely, knowing others are watching you just as intently. So I think it comes back to that idea of the fear of being seen there, right? The being watched. I think it's easy to look at that idea of that fear of being seen or perceived and automatically be like, well, that's silly, that's not true, no one's judging you or looking at you. And I think maybe this card is indicating that sometimes that fear is founded, and that still means it's something you need to let go of, even though you're not ostensibly wrong. You should take that largely as a validation, I think, even though I know it's not a very comfortable or comforting one. But just as much as you are being seen and observed, you are yourself doing observing. You are watching the others just as much as you are being watched. Their perception and thereby judgment of you is not automatically more important or more valuable or more true than your interpretation of them. And it does not seem like whether it is an individual or a group, maybe a friend group or peers, maybe family, it could even be like in work in some way, a career thing, or it could just be like the public in general. If you're somebody who's like, a bit more like agoraphobic in some way, if you don't like literally leaving your house at all, if you get very uncomfortable seeing people like recording in public and you don't like being seen in that way, very, very understandable. I relate to that strongly. But I think this is that bridge card between these two energies. It's like, yes, maybe you're right to think that people can see you and judge you in some way, and maybe they will. And maybe you'll do the same to them. And, that's just a natural part of life and of existing in this world with other people. And you can't wait for it to just not be true, to allow yourself to tap into something that you know could bring you joy anyway. And you desire to be seen clearly. Even though it is scary and uncomfortable and you do fear it, you do still. You want the connection that comes with being seen. Again, and this card mentioned fame, so I wonder if there is an element of just sort of like the public TM. The public. Maybe you're someone who wants to create some content online, or maybe you're even seeking like auditions. And it's so important not to stand in your own way, even when you're right, even when your fear is grounded. So if you're coming here for the comfort of being told, no one's looking at you, hey, guess what? Maybe they are. Hey, guess what? Maybe you're a smart person who's right. And I know that sucks to hear, and that's not comforting. But the comfort of being able to somehow hypothetically prove that all of your fears are unfounded is worth far less to you in the long run than the ability to power through it, even though you may well be right. Let's focus on the way through right now. Arts and crafts. Number 5. So funny, I was looking in the wrong booklet because it looked so much like a Letha card to me. That's interesting. This is from the in bulk deck. Keywords are independence, creating your vision, and getting involved. Arts and crafts card comes to you when you are trying to manifest your vision using other people's means and methods instead of creating something for yourself. This card asks why buy artwork when you can paint or purchase why buy artwork when you can paint or purchase clothes when you can sew your own. There is certainly no shortage of modern conveniences, but eliminating yourself from the crafting process reduces your chances of finding exactly what you're looking for. Don't cut yourself short thinking that you don't have the skill to bring your ideas and visions to life, because skills can be learned and mastered. In a love reading, this card means that you are losing yourself in a relationship and dissolving yourself into the other person. Make sure you are voicing your wants and needs to avoid resentment down the line. In a reading about money or career, this card means a lazy attitude towards financial comfort and a desire for other people to take care of you. It can indicate a feeling of always expecting others to fix your mistakes rather than you taking responsibility. It's time to stand on your own 2 feet and start building your own life. Additionally, this card can mean getting more involved in a cause you believe in. Is there an injustice that is troubling you? Perhaps it's time for you to speak up, as you may have a perspective and potential ideas that could make all the difference in someone else's life. Slightly different meaning than I thought based on just the words on the card itself. In the context of that reluctance to put yourself out there, I think there's something to be said for your creative exploit. Cars are so loud today, it's raining more. I apologize, we are right next to a window. I think there is something here to the idea that maybe as part of a way to hide, you tend to have your creative process lean towards over-inspiration and over-reliance on how other people go about making things. There can be maybe a sense of creative jealousy if you ever read something or hear a song or whatever medium you like to work in. If you see a piece of that and you go, oh God, I wish I made that, you know. It's a very common feeling. But I think that is an extension of that fear of being truly seen. Like I said, all creation is an act of communication. And if you're so afraid of differing that you are letting that sort of stand in the way of your creative expression because you keep reverting back to what other people are doing. So this card is really calling for a certain sense of independence for you. Specifically when it comes to the way that you are making things, doing something creative for yourself. So for you, Group 1, Chanterelle Group. I would say it could be very worthwhile for you to focus back on sort of that like childlike feeling of making things just for the sake of making them. Don't think so hard about what people people are going to say or think. Just act on your creative impulse. Try to do something in a different way than what you're observing other people do. And the last step to making something, I'm so sorry to tell you, is in fact publishing it. It's posting it, it's allowing it to be seen. So don't hide back away. There we go. Group number 2, songbird group. Let's get straight into it. First card, that which... There we go. Card number 1, that which you most fear. Winter besom. Sweep away ill intent while creating boundaries, weaved with protection. A witch respects passages of safety. A reluctance to create boundaries, it seems like. Although actually, I think it might be the opposite. This could go either way. It could be a reluctance to create boundaries. But it could also be more of like a hyper-protective nature. There could be something to be said for, being so protective, being so kind of reactive in a way that you end up becoming overly guarded and putting walls up where there were supposed to be guardrails. I'll pull all of your cards before we go through and read their descriptions. Card number 2, that which you most desire. And you have Angelica. The bells have rung, chiming far and near. Underneath feathered wings, my dear, you have nothing to fear. Like a desire to be divinely protected and know that you are safe innately. A desire to... I've seen here a certain recognition of this fear, right? There's a self-awareness to it, of knowing that maybe you lean towards that. A very specific kind of anxiety, I think. And there's a desire to walk with such a sense of certainty that the real world cannot necessarily offer. And I think maybe this very reactive, guarded energy here. I think that that's the thing you're doing because you maybe feel like maybe there's a part of you that's like, oh, I'll just do that until I can finally hit the place where I know that I'm just going to be fine forever. I'll be safe forever. And that's just not quite how the world works. That's my immediate read, but we'll see. Let's finish pulling your cards first. You have the bridge card, or the place where these two are the same for you. They're overlap on your Venn diagram for how you experience them in your life. Sacred space. Mundane to eyes, not of my own. These sacred responsibilities are mine to embrace. That is a weird card with this position. The bridge card in this spread is always kind of the weird one that requires the most thought. If I recall correctly, I think this card is very much about the sort of like daily chores and habits that make up life. Having a hard time seeing where that overlaps with these two, but hopefully reading its description in the book that will help. Finally, your key or way through card. The only card in this spread that is from the Leap deck. The other three are from the Imbolc. Way through the energy for you to tap into to move forward through this. Rot and decay. This is a beautiful card. Rot and decay. It festers when left in the shadows. Bring it to life by giving it away. This is going to be a weird one, I think, this spread. Let's get into it. Winter Beson, 43. Is that the final card in the deck? Let me see. No, it's not. Alright, Winter Beson, the Fear card. Keywords are protection, safety, boundaries, and safe passage. Not everyone who knocks on your door is there with good intentions, nor are you required to entertain any person or idea if something feels off. Witches hang brooms above their doors to protect their dwellings from negative energy. You too have such a defense against bad vibes in the form of your instincts. And sometimes the universe will send a test or challenge to see if you are honoring your soul's guidance and have truly learned your lessons from past circumstances. The Winter Beson card is here to encourage a pause before moving forward with any plans. Consider this a checkpoint that will allow you to evaluate whether a situation you have inquired about is truly deserving of safe passage into your life. Think about whether or not this person or situation represents a pattern of self-destruction, or if there are any red flags you can recognize from previous experiences. Receiving this card suggests it's better to be cautious if you're unsure and put boundaries in place where appropriate. Now, bear in mind, these are written in a very advicey way, as if you're always doing single card pulls. So that advice here, you have to take in the way that it's written with how this spread is set up. This is representing your fear, so don't take that as direct advice necessarily. I think that sense of caution there's in here sort of a hypervigilance of, I think, pretty directly, not just situations but other people specifically. Maybe there's something to be said for always assuming the worst of people. For now, let's take a look at your desire card. That truck just went by so loud. Angelica, your desire card. It's a guardian angel, help is on the way, and protection. It's sort of just a very clear-cut balance with your fear card, to be honest. These are very opposite sides of the same coin. It says, rest assured that help is on the way and you are safe to move forward. Again, remembering this is written like you did a single card pull. Here, this is just your desire. Rest assured that help is on the way and you are safe to move forward, knowing all will be well. You may have experienced some troubles lately and are wondering if you're unlucky or what you've done to bring these misfortunes into your life. From your perspective, it's easy to feel as though the universe is treating you unfairly, but Spirit never sends more than you can handle. While you may not see it, there's always protection and help to hold you up and carry you into the next leg of your journey. This card brings good news. You're coming to the end of your struggle. So don't give up hope. Stay vigilant as you may receive an unexpected help or a message that could change everything for you. In the meantime, trust that your spiritual support team is removing obstacles for you. And if you're ever unsure of their contribution to your greatest good, simply ask them to show you a sign to let you know the next correct step towards happiness. Have faith and confidence in your ability to overcome any challenge that is put in your path. Yes, as I said, it's very much a desire for that sense of divine protection and of a complete unbridled confidence that you will be okay. I wonder if perhaps it's why you clicked on this tarot reading, for that sense of hearing someone tell you, oh, this card means you're going to be good, everything's okay. And I'm not saying that's not the case, I think that you should interpret this so far as meaning more about calling into question whether that is a desire of yours and really a pattern of yours that is actually healthy for you. Do you watch, I wonder, a lot of content that's tarot content, or that sort of I've seen sometimes videos of people who are just acting as a sort of conduit from the universe, and it's videos that are oh, I just got a message that somebody in the collective is about to make it big, you know what I mean? Nothing against those, I wonder if maybe you watch those sometimes to get this feeling, and yet no amount of it ever actually lets go of the fear behind it. Nothing's actually assuaging that fear of the what ifs, the fear of people blocking you. And again, I think there is a sense of assuming the worst of people here that is really getting in your way more than anything else. And I think you should interpret this card in particular as maybe you are being a little bit unfair to other people in that way. Maybe assuming the worst from them is sort of an unkindness you are doing, even if not to an individual who on an individual level may well deserve it. But if you're just kind of looking out at sort of humanity at the whole with squinted eyes and looking sideways at it, maybe there's something to be said for the misanthropic nature that your sense of caution has resulted in. And if you're waiting for somebody else to tell you that it's okay and you don't have to worry, I'm choosing not to do that for you today, because I don't think that's a thing you can ask other people to offer you. I think that's just maybe a desire that you need to let go of a little bit. And there's a piece of this that you don't need to, and that's just a sense of confidence but that comes more from a sense of calm and of trusting your ability to handle it if things go awry, rather than from any sort of divine message of success. I haven't even finished reading the descriptions, I know, but just based on these two, I can't help but want to give you some advice. Because I see so much of like standing in your own way here. And for now, we'll keep reading these and we'll come back to it as a whole. Sacred space, the place where these overlap. 36. There it is. Mundane tasks. Gaining control over life. And a need for practicality. Okay. The other ones are making sense now. Other keywords there. It says here, sacred doesn't always mean extraordinary. Grand ceremonies are preceded by small, often boring labors that come together to create a masterpiece. While these small duties are often overshadowed in the grand scheme of things, they are ultimately what fuels the beautiful side of life. There is powerful magic and healing in putting in the hard work now so that you can play later. Consider saving money for a quality purchase down the road rather than splurging on things that might break or fall apart quickly, or staying in and working on a project instead of going out or compromising now for the long-term health of your relationship. When this card comes up, it may be time to be more reasonable, responsible, or practical in your endeavors. If you're seeking to gain more control over your life or situation, or are failing to receive desired results, then you are urged to shift your focus from glamorous expectations and start seriously investing the time and effort needed to create the rewards you desire. Certain tasks or engagements. My roommates are talking, I apologize. That's alright. Where was that? Certain tasks or engagements may not be fun, but are necessary all the same if a successful outcome is desired. So I think in here, in the context of this reading, this card should actually, I think this card is actually serving as almost the opposite of its intended position. It's supposed to be, the bridge, the place where these are the same, but I'm immediately reading it as being more of showing where these are different, because you need like that emphasized for you, I think. So it's showing this as being a little bit impractical, which is basically what I was already saying, that desire to be able to know it's all going to work out versus the more practical versions of that. Being able to rely on your own competence, that being able to tap into the confidence of self rather than confidence of like universal guiding. Who's honking outside of my window? So I'm curious about that. the more literal versions of this card as far as the day-to-day tasks. I wonder if there's something to be said for getting out of your head and focusing more on that idea of taking care of your space and yourself in a more direct way. It's okay, you're trying to find, maybe you clicked into a video like this to try to find an assurance about your long-term success, or your triumph over others, maybe even in some ways. However, it's okay, cool, you're watching this. When's the last time you've cleaned your microwave? You know what I mean? Little things of how are you taking care of yourself in the day-to-day, or are you getting so caught up in worrying about your future that you're not staying present in taking care of yourself and your immediate environment? I feel I don't know, I actually don't know that I've ever pulled this card before. I could be misremembering, but I feel this is about to get in a very practical, immediate environment realm. But let's read this before I try to beat it to the punch. Rot and Decay, your key card. Way through energy to tap into. The keywords are cycles of life and death and sacrifice for the greater good. Flowers can't bloom forever, and even the summer experiences death, decay, and the need to sacrifice small parts for the health of the whole. It may seem like a waste on the surface, but Mother Nature knows what she's doing, and nothing dies in vain. Some fruits and vegetables will fall to the ground and rot, their sacrifice offering nourishment that makes for the most fertile soil. The more fruitful your life is, the more you have to sacrifice. With abundance also comes the need to shed what is weighing you down, has been forgotten, or wasn't sweet enough for your harvest. Rot and decay reminds you that abundance doesn't mean you need to have everything, for that would no longer be abundance but greed. Rather, it means you have more than enough for the way you wish to live. If you find you are carrying too much, receiving this card is your sign to leave something behind, in service of your greater good. Consider how you may be spreading yourself too thin, focusing on things you aren't passionate about, or holding on to old ideas that are no longer facilitating your growth. Don't allow the need for more to weigh you down in fear that your good favor will run out, or that there won't be another chance. There will always be another season of harvest. My immediate take on that card here is that I think it calls back to that sort of misanthropic energy I was mentioning on your fear card here a little bit. A certain sense of greed, a certain sense of and there is a lot of fear in that sense of, what's the word I'm looking for here? Hoarding, that's the word. A sense of hoarding in this that I think is so directly tied to your fear card. I like the protection. I was interpreting it here as being of putting up walls, maybe there's something protective and also like wanting to keep things for yourself, wanting to, wanting to make sure your stocks are full is not a moral failing, and it's not a bad thing. But there are versions of it that are deeply unhealthy. And what that looks like is going to be very different for each person. I give a number of examples there. But yeah, it could be, you can want to hoard onto any kind of thing. It could be, just like concepts of sorts, wanting to hoard onto certain relationships or connections, wanting to hold on to and be the only holder of certain ideas. It can also be literal. It could be wanting the most of something, wanting something rare so that no one else can have it. It can be wanting, so much, wanting money, just raw money, which, hey, don't we all? There's nothing wrong with that innately. It's just a matter of do you want money to do something with it, or do you just want, number go up? You know what I mean? It could also be even more literal in terms of I think for some of you, just a small fraction of you watching, I think there's maybe a sense of literal physical hoarding of just items in your home, which always comes down to a very specific anxiety. And that's always a very sad situation. And there's nothing to be ashamed of about it. But even if it's not to a full hoarder situation that you would see in some weird exploitative reality show, even if it's not to an extreme level, I do think there's something, I was saying, the literalness of this, of taking care of your home. Maybe it's time to let go of some of the things that you're just holding on to physically, like physical items you're holding on to, just out of fear that maybe you'll need it someday. I know that's a nice quality cardboard box. You don't need it. You can release that, If you have things from your childhood that you're not even particularly attached to, you're just afraid to let go of, maybe it's time to clear that out. If you have clothes you don't wear anymore, things like that, just anything physical in your home, this might be a good time. Hey, it's spring cleaning and all that, but this might be a good time to actually clear out your physical space a little bit and let that be a good practice of letting go of things you don't need anymore, for when after that, hopefully soon, you start to feel a little bit more ready to do the same with your own concepts and ideas, letting go of things of that nature. I think we think of, it's easy to look at clearing out physical things as being somehow lesser, that's not good practice, right? For trying to let go of old ways of thinking that no longer serve you. But that's not true, because it's very, the physical realm around you is that's a strong psychological effect on you. That's how people end up being hoarders in the first place. It's a psychological phenomenon, manifested into the physical. And so as such, letting go of the physical things can be a good practice. To then maybe spending some time in introspection, maybe a bit of meditation, and noticing your own thought patterns a little better, to know what it's time to move on from, which is easier said than done, I know. But this fear, I'm seeing a stagnation in this fear that's causing that almost build up here in a sense. It needs to be cleared away. And I think you need to take that sort of your own, I want to say almost your own psychological hygiene very seriously and treat that as a routine chore or task for you to complete. And, this desire card, I don't want you to feel like I'm trying to say that this is innately a bad thing or that you need to get rid of it completely. It's okay to want the sense of calm that this offers. It's just that you can't keep waiting to fully live your life until you just, either hear from another person or just feel like you are seeing signs of this, that it's all going to work out for you. You cannot wait to fully live your life until you have this complete confidence. You can find a sense of calm in a self-trust that can only really be accomplished by knowing yourself better and thinking the way that you think on purpose more than just on the learned habits that you pick up across your lifetime. That is your